One of the running jokes has been, the compulsive need to credit others when talking about Caitlin Clark relative to her impact to the WNBA. And, I've joked, her last name at one point was Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, or Caitlin Clark and the rookie class. And I get that there was some pushback against the veterans and the history of the league being not appreciated or crapped on. And that led to, some reactions in a certain sense. But
they said Caitlin Clark got fired, not benched, not traded, fired. And for a few loud, chaotic days, that rumor spread like it was already official. But the real story isn't Caitlin's out. The real story is way messier, way more interesting, and honestly way more human. Because what actually happened is this. Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White got pulled into a pressure cooker the league hasn't seen before. A brand new superstar with a once-in-a-generation spotlight. A head coach with a system, an ego, and a job to do. A fan base that sees everything in extremes. And an injury spiral that left gaps big enough for the internet to shove its wildest theories into. So if you're here expecting a simple coach versus player beef story, relax. This isn't that. This is a slow-burn chess match where every tiny move gets turned into a headline. A story where respect and tension live in the same room. And a story that still doesn't have an ending yet. Let's start at the beginning, because the beginning matters more than people think. When Stephanie White got hired, the Fever weren't just hiring a coach. They were hiring a statement. She wasn't coming in like a rookie head coach, hoping to survive her first season. She was coming in like someone who has been here before, understands how Indiana basketball culture works, and believes she can build something real. And Caitlin Clark? She sounded genuinely excited. Not the forced PR kind of excited either. The vibe was more like, finally, someone who gets it. Someone who can push me. That's what Fever fans wanted to believe too. In their heads, it was already scripted. White brings structure, Clark brings magic, and Indiana turns into the next powerhouse. But here's the thing about perfect fits. They only look perfect on paper. The second real basketball starts, you find out where the edges don't line up. White's philosophy is built around something coaches love and stars sometimes hate: balance. She wants pace, but not reckless pace. She wants freedom, but not chaos. She wants Clark to be the centerpiece, but not the entire painting. And that sounds harmless, right? Until you understand what it means in practice. Because in practice, White wasn't saying, Caitlin, keep doing what you're doing. She was saying, Caitlin, your next level is going to require you to change. Not change who you are. Change the shape of your game. White wanted more off-ball movement, better screening, a real catch-and-shoot threat, not just a dribble into logo threes threat. She wanted Clark to be dangerous even when she wasn't holding the ball, so defenses couldn't just trap her and prey. From a coach's perspective, that's smart. That's how you build a champion. From Caitlin's perspective, that's not automatically wrong, but it hits a nerve. Because Caitlin's entire identity, Iowa college records, those games where she basically ran the show for 40 minutes, was built on one truth. When the ball is in her hands, she controls the universe. She reads you, she drags you out, she breaks you down. She makes you regret every defensive decision you've ever made.
When Iowa lost to South Carolina in the national championship game, shortly thereafter, Dawn Staley called Caitlin Clark the sole reason for the explosion in women's basketball. And that's kind of become like a point of contention. But every time you see another entity talk about Caitlin Clark, they kind of tell it how it is. And that's, the LPGA and the way they celebrate her, or MLB, the way they've reacted to her posts or whatnot. And the same goes for Adam Silver, who does have a connection to the WNBA, given he runs the NBA and the NBA, is directly involved with the WNBA, and Silver now directly involved with the CBA negotiations.
So right away, you had two people who both wanted to win, but who saw the path to winning differently. And that difference was quiet at first. It wasn't a screaming feud. It was more like two strong personalities circling each other, figuring out how much to bend before they snap. But then came the moment that the internet turned into a war zone. Caitlin was coming back from injury when reporters asked what her role would look like, especially next to her teammates. She did the polite part first. She acknowledged White's coaching points. She talked about screening better. She nodded toward off-ball work. She said what any player says when they're trying to show buy-in. Then she said the sentence that froze the room. I'm at my best with the ball in my hands. Now let's be honest, that's not a crazy thing for a star point guard to say. If Luka said it, nobody would blink. If Trey said it, they'd shrug. But Caitlyn is not a normal star. She's the biggest spotlight the WNBA has had in decades. Every quote is a headline. Every headline is a weapon. And the way she said it mattered. Because it wasn't a casual, "Yeah, I like the ball." It sounded like a line in the sand. Like, "I hear you, coach, but don't forget who I am." Fans heard that, reporters replayed it, and suddenly the narrative was born. Caitlyn is pushing back. Caitlyn wants control. Caitlyn doesn't want White's system. The wild part is how fast that shift happened. One week it was, "This pairing is going to be amazing." The next week it was, "Oh, are they already clashing?" And the internet doesn't do nuance. It doesn't do, "Maybe they're still figuring it out." It jumps straight to extremes. So that one sentence became a billboard for everything people wanted to believe. If you were already nervous about White, you saw it as proof she was trying to box Caitlyn in. If you were already annoyed by Caitlyn hype, you saw it as proof she thinks she's bigger than the team. And once fans pick a side, they don't just watch the games. They start hunting for evidence. That's when the media and fan machine turned this into a full-blown soap opera. Every White interview got scanned, like it was a conspiracy document. If she praised another player, it became, "She doesn't respect Caitlyn." If she talked about team basketball, it became, "She's holding Caitlyn back." Even harmless stuff got twisted. A comment about Kelsey Mitchell being important, which is a normal coach move when you're trying to keep a veteran happy, got turned into "She's downplaying Caitlyn." But the biggest flare-up came from a viral moment that's still being argued about now. White made a comparison about Caitlyn's cultural impact, basically saying her spotlight is like a pop culture hurricane, the kind of attention that follows mega icons. The comparison was intended as praise. But online, it got chewed up. Some people mocked it. Some people got angry. Some people said White was being dramatic. Others said she was being disrespectful. And because the clip spread without context, people filled the blank with whatever version of reality they prefer. That's how you get to a place where everything becomes a threat. Not coach and star navigating pressure, but coach versus star in a power struggle. That story is addictive. It creates heroes and villains. It makes every game feel like an episode. And the league spotlight made it worse. Because there was money in the drama. There was content in the drama. Every YouTube channel, every debate show, every Twitter thread needed another angle. Another spark. And then the universe gave them one, but not the kind anyone wanted. Because while everybody argued about philosophy, Caitlyn's body started falling apart. The first groin issue showed up, and it didn't look like a big deal at first. Those injuries can be sneaky. You rest a little, you rehab, you come back. But then it came back again. And again. And each time she tried to power through, it stole a little more from her game. Her burst looked off. Her shot rhythm wasn't the same. She fought through it anyway because that's who she is, but the tape didn't lie. Then the ankle bone bruise hit. And that's the kind of thing you can't fake your way through. If you've ever had one, you know it feels like your foot is betraying you with every step. And suddenly it wasn't. When is Caitlyn back? It was, how bad is this getting? She ended up playing only 13 games in 2025. 13. For someone who carried Iowa for years without missing a beat, that number felt unreal. And by early September, the Fever had to shut her down for the season. Here's what that did to the storyline. It erased the on-court resolution. We never got to see the real version of Clark White basketball. We got glimpses. We got half games. We got a team still trying to learn itself while its star was in and out. So to the public, the tension felt frozen in time. And when a story freezes, people start imagining the ending. While Caitlyn was out, the Fever had to survive. And they didn't just survive. They won. Not like a championship run or anything, but enough wins to change the tone. Enough moments where the offense looked smoother, the ball moved more, and role players looked confident instead of waiting for Caitlyn to bail them out. If you're Stephanie White, those wins matter. They prove the system can hold up. They show you're building something bigger than one player. If you're a Caitlyn superfan, those same wins can feel like a threat. Because now the hottest take isn't the Fever need Caitlyn. It's maybe they're better without her. That take is half-truth, half-rage bait. No one in their right mind thinks the Fever are truly better without Caitlyn. The whole reason she's the centerpiece is because she warps defenses, sells arenas out, and changes the gravity of the game. But basketball fans don't live on full truths. They live on highlights and vibes. So when Indiana won without her, it didn't calm the discourse. It poured gasoline on it. White supporters used it like a trophy. See, she knows what she's doing. Clark supporters used it like a warning. See, they're building a system that doesn't maximize her. And Caitlyn herself? She was supportive publicly. She celebrated wins. She posted positive stuff. She didn't feed the conflict fantasy. But silence also feeds rumors. Because when a star is hurt, not playing, and not visibly resolving a philosophical debate on the court, the internet fills the blank with whatever seems most dramatic. That's how you get to she wants out. That's how you get to she's fed up. And eventually, that's how you get to she got fired. Which makes no factual sense, but makes perfect clickbait sense. At that point, Stephanie White did the smart thing. She went public in a controlled way. She appeared on Sue Bird's podcast, and it was the kind of interview you could tell she knew would be dissected for weeks. So she chose her words carefully, but she didn't dodge. First, she praised Caitlyn hard. She called her the centerpiece of everything Indiana does. She talked about the pressure Caitlyn lives under, how most people couldn't handle that at her age. Then she dropped a line that instantly went viral. She said she's the same kind of psycho competitor Caitlyn is. Some people laughed at the word. Some people clutched pearls. But if you understand coaching language, you know what she meant. I see her fire, and I match it. White wasn't positioning herself below Caitlyn. She wasn't positioning herself above either. She was saying, we are cut from the same cloth. I want to win as badly as she does. We're just trying to get there in different ways. Then she followed with the part that matters most. She said she believes you have to coach your best players hardest. You don't protect them from growth. You don't let superstardom turn into immunity. If Caitlyn is the centerpiece, that means she is also the responsibility. That's not shade. That's coaching. But people didn't hear it that way. Because the internet can't hear growth without also hearing conflict. So instead of calming down, fans got more divided. Some saw it as proof White loves Caitlyn and wants her greatness to expand. Others saw it as proof White is stubborn and wants Caitlyn to play her way. The truth is probably both. White does want Caitlyn to evolve. Caitlyn does want to stay Caitlyn. That isn't a feud. That's what happens when you put a genius player inside a genius coach's system. The question is whether those geniuses can merge. Now let's talk about the fired rumor directly, because this is where things get ridiculous. There are zero credible reports that Caitlyn Clark was fired, cut, terminated, or kicked off the Fever. None. What actually happened is a classic internet chain reaction. Injuries took her off the court. Team won some games without her. Fans were already arguing about usage and coaching philosophy. Every quote started sounding like a clue to a secret war. YouTubers and hot take accounts escalated for clicks. And because Caitlyn got fired is a nuclear headline, it traveled farther than Caitlyn shut down season with injuries, and there's some schematic tension. Clickbait is a game of escalation. Coach and star disagree a little becomes they hate each other. They hate each other becomes she wants out. She wants out becomes she's gone. And she's gone becomes she got fired. It's not journalism. It's content farming. But the reason it works is because people want it to be true. They want a dramatic breakup. They want a villain. They want a hero fighting back. They want a movie ending. Except real life doesn't give you movie endings on schedule. Real life gives you rehab timelines, awkward interviews, and unfinished seasons. And that's where we are right now. An unfinished season, an unfinished partnership, and a league waiting for the real next chapter. Because make no mistake, 2026 is the season where this story either explodes into greatness or turns into a real problem. If Caitlyn comes back healthy and White finds the right balance, the ball in Caitlyn's hands enough to let her be her, but enough off-ball evolution to make Indiana unstoppable, then this becomes scary for the league. Like dynasty scary. Because Caitlyn at full power is already a threat. Caitlyn plus system growth is a nightmare. But if the injuries linger, or if the philosophical tug-of-war turns into stubbornness on both sides, then the tension fans keep imagining might actually start to exist. And that's why everybody keeps watching. Not because she got fired, but because she didn't. Because the real story didn't end with a breakup. It paused at the most dramatic moment and said, "To be continued." So here's the big picture, and it's simple. Caitlyn Clark is not fired. Stephanie White is not her enemy. The Fever are not better without her. What they are is a team trying to build something massive under a spotlight that makes every normal growing pain look like a disaster. White is trying to coach a generational talent into her most complete form. Caitlyn is trying to stay true to the instincts that made her generational in the first place. That clash isn't personal. It's basketball. It's evolution. It's two elite competitors pushing at the same ceiling from different angles. And if they figure it out, Indiana isn't just a feel-good story anymore. They're the future. But until that future arrives, the rumors will keep spinning. The hot takes will keep screaming. And every tiny quote will keep getting turned into a headline that says way more than the truth. Because the truth is quieter. The truth is that this dynasty or disaster storyline is still being written. And the next time Caitlyn steps on the floor healthy, with a coach who refuses to treat her like glass, we're finally going to see what this partnership really is. Not what the internet says it is. What it actually becomes.